En buys the magic pawn shop and has Shin and Noi investigate it, discovering that Ebisu has sold her magic powder there several times. He orders her stocked powder to be examined to learn her magical specialization. Despite his help, and reveals he has been unable to find Fujita a replacement partner. A bitter Fujita head to Hole, plotting to find and kill Cayman with a pistol. While initially taunting his unpopularity, Ebisu follows him to help. Shortly afterward, a worker returning with Ebisu's magic powder trips, accidentally throwing the vial and smashing it on Noi, causing her to scream. Vox, visiting the Hungry Bug, bemoans that they lack a required 9th needed player for their baseball match against a rival hospital. 13, a regular at Nikaido's restaurant, volunteers himself. Across Hole, Fujita applies at the rival hospital for their pitcher position to get closer to Cayman, with Ebisu being taken as their mascot. Preparing to pitch, Fujita is horrified to see their first batsman is Matsumura, his corpse reanimated by Kasakabe, a la Frankenstein's monster, and kept docile using electricity. The rival hospital begins cheating to try and win the match, with Ebisu drugging their remaining pitchers. In response, Kasakabe uses Johnson, domesticated and controllable through electroshocking, to regain the lead. Fujita then begins sipping a drink that increases his smoke output, allowing him to affect the speed of the ball. Nikaido, skilled enough to bat the shot, accidentally concusses the rival hospital director, allowing Fujita to escape with Matsumura during the confusion. Shin follows Noi, who has turned into a reptilian humanoid due to Ebisu's magic and began an uncontrollable rampage. Shin narrowly manages to incapacitate Noi, getting seriously maimed in the process. And has Shin carry Noi up to a man called Chota, a sorcerer obsessively infatuated with En, who restores Noi to normal by mixing a dispelling potion. Elsewhere in the mansion, Ebisu complains her head hurts from stealing Fujita's smoke-enhancing drink, only to be attacked by the undead Matsumura, who has become violent without his shock treatment. Overwhelmed and under attack, Ebisu emits a huge amount of magic and transforms herself into a huge dinosaur, causing her to crush Matsumura's remains into a paste in a rage. Fujita takes Matsumura's pulped remains to Kikuruchi, who is unable to restore him to life. The report on Ebisu's magic powder explains she is the sorcerer who can turn things into reptiles. Ebisu confirms this, her returning memories including the man in Cayman's mouth saying, "You're the one who got in my way." Cayman, unwilling to let Nikaido get hurt any further, quits his job and heads back to the sorcerer world alone, leaving Nikaido to learn of it from Vox. Shortly after arriving in the magic realm, Cayman intervenes in thugs trying to kidnap a pie maker named Fukuyama, leading Fukuyama's bosses Tanba and Kirien to take him in as cover staff for his pie shop. Rizu returns to his apartment, where his head was found inside a safe, and recalls his death. Sent on a routine job by the Cross Eyes, he turns down his friend Aikawa's offer for company as he is explicitly told to go alone. While he waits at his meeting point, an unknown assailant fatally stabs Rizu from behind. Rizu sees part of his killer's reflection as he dies, glimpsing a Cross Eyes tattoo. He was murdered by a member of his gang. In the present, Rizu realizes that he is starting to run out of magic charge, at which point his body will fail, and he'll be helpless. En begins planning the Blue Night Festival, a multi-day event where sorcerers place ads and applications to seek a partner, ending the event by signing a demon's binding magical contract with their partners. Cayman sneaks into the event by leaving work and stealing an event employee's uniform, but becomes sidetracked when other workers keep giving him responsibilities. Noi goes to the toilet alone only to be blown up by another magic user, Baku, who seeks to force her into being his partner over Shin. Shin finds the bathroom destroyed and Noi missing, only to be incapacitated with sniper-fired sedatives by Baku's accomplice, Yaku. Cayman is accidentally injured by both Baku and Yaku, prompting Tanba to pick a fight with them. Cayman causes Baku to accidentally self-destruct by cutting off his cannon hand, while Fukuyama reveals his magic skill by turning Yaku into a giant meat pie, the group unknowingly saving Shin in the process. Elsewhere, Rizu breaks into the Blue Night Festival to steal stored smoke, only to find Baku's magic-inhibiting chest containing Noi. He opens its door and unwittingly frees Noi. Her healing magic immediately triggers and floods the room, also regrowing Rizu's original body in the process. A flashback shows how Shin and Noi met a decade ago. A homeless Shin, his limp arms now rotting, is challenged to a fair fight for stealing food by En's cousin, revealed to be Noi. Shin's arms are healed and he strikes her with his claw hammer, fleeing while yelling he'll pay her back. Shin is shortly hired as En's cleaner and quickly becomes friends with Noi, who is undergoing grueling training to ascend into a demon. Her final exam requires full magic abstinence for a year. As Blue Night approaches, Shin and Noi are attacked by Baku and Yaku, with Shin victorious, but fatally injured. Shin considers his debt repaid, but Noi immediately fails her exam to save his life. Hiring Noi as Shin's understudy, En pushes them into a contract partnership. In the present, Noi finally locates Shin's unconscious body in time to renew their contracts before Blue Night ends. Fujita admits he's devastated that he couldn't find his only partnership applicant, only to realize it was Ebisu from her bashful response. En discovers Nikaido was also the pawnshop attacker and that her magic could be the rumored time control power he is seeking. And creates a voodoo doll of Nikaido, causing her to collapse at Vox's birthday party as a huge mushroom familiar bursts from her mushroom scar. Attacked by the familiar and the hungry bug, Nikaido and Johnson manage to distract it long enough for everyone to escape upstairs. In a flashback, Nikaido recalls receiving her sorcerer's mask from her demon friend ASU. Climbing into her loft and recovering it, she gains the strength to easily defeat the familiar. This is revealed to be a trap, however, as the familiar's pooling blood turns into a door on the floor, dropping everyone into En's mansion. The head demon Chidoruma appears and confirms that Nikaido's magic can control time and, despite her blatant lack of consent, Nikaido is forced to exchange contracts with En. Shin and Noi also successfully renew their contracts, while an upset Fujita is unable to enter a partnership with Ebisu as she suffers from diarrhea and cannot sign the contract before the night ends. Kamen, suffering mysterious nightmares based on his unrecalled memories, goes for a late walk but is followed by Tanba, who interrogates him. Learning Kamen is a magic victim and not a sorcerer, Tanba offers to help him find the Cross-Eyes through a potential lead. He received a letter from a Cross-Eyes customer on death row who wants Fukuyama's pie as his last meal, and brings Kamen along. Kamen puts the prisoner into his mouth, who recognizes the man inside as Rizu, but he cannot explain before he is dragged into hell. Kamen is narrowly saved from the same fate when ASU appears, who warns him that Nikaido is imprisoned at En's mansion. Nikaido's contract begins to make her submit to En, and En requests she is given a new mask by Chidoruma. Kasakabe, Johnson, 13, and Vox escape En's dungeon, with Johnson having cockroach pick locks and Kasakabe stealing Fujita's gun. Kasakabe holds him at gunpoint, only to be surprised and pinned by Shin. Shin recognizes Kasakabe as the doctor who saved his life, and moves his group to a safe house, later agreeing to release them. He refuses their appeals to free Nikaido too. In En's mansion, Nikaido is mentored by Chota, who begins trying to murder her out of jealousy under the pretense of assassination survival training. Chota then shows Nikaido an autobiographical movie that explains En's past. En's substantial magic power turned his parents into mushrooms when he was a baby, leading him to be picked up by a burglar who sold him to a trafficking ring that bleeds sorcerers of their smoke for profit. Left to die once his smoke dried up, En's rage allowed him to survive even being thrown into hell. Eventually noticed by head demon Chidoruma, who named him En, he soon returned him to the magic world, where En began liberating sorcerers and building his family. After 20 years unopposed, En watched as his kapos began dying to a sorcerer hunter, identified as a knife fighter with cross tattoos on his eyes. With his inner circle dead and Shin and Noi seriously wounded, En attacked the assassin in a rage and blacked out, coming to with the entire neighborhood engulfed in giant mushrooms. Later labeled a freak incident dubbed the Death Shroom Incident, En saw the assassin step through a closing magic door despite being beheaded. The film ends, and En appears, explaining to Nikaido that he needs her time powers to return to the Death Shroom Incident and confirm whether the assassin did survive. Disguised as Tanba's pie mascot, Kamen assists him in a cook-off against his ex-wife Asuka held outside En's estate. Asuka tries to cheat the contest, enchanting her pies to make customers obsessed with them. Kamen seizes the distraction to drag Nikaido away from the distracted En. Nikaido stops Kamen and argues that she wants to be with En, unaware of the contract's effect on her. Kamen warns her that he's rescuing her by force if need be, and Nikaido asks if he thinks he can. In a flashback, Rizu reports on an implied assassination for the Cross Eyes, only for his friend Ikawa to interfere and attack the gangsters. Ikawa warns Rizu against affiliating with the Cross Eyes, but Rizu argues against it. Despite attending a sorcerer's school, Rizu is still unable to produce any magic smoke and feels that the Cross Eyes' rumored research in Berith is the only hope for people who can't use magic. In the present, Rizu heads to Berith in search of his killer. Chota gleefully finds Nikaido's body, only for ASU to appear and pull In's contract out through her wound. ASU hands Chota the contract in exchange for his silence. Kamen, unconscious from his wounds, recalls waking in Vox's hospital in a dream. ASU opens a magic door to help them escape in, buying them time by transforming Chota into Nikaido's doppelganger. The end of Dorohedoro reaches a simple and happy conclusion. In and his family return home, and Kamen and Nikaido reopen the Hungry Bug to serve gyoza to the whole. Everyone is pretty much back to where they started, but with stronger friendships, stronger powers, and crazy stories to tell.